At 7 o'clock, I ask for the public informational hearing of the town of Danville to come to order. This hearing is both in person and remote via Microsoft's Teams app. There will not be an in-person town meeting. All the articles will be voted by Australian ballot. While we strive to provide the means for attending remotely to participate in the public comment period, there may be technical difficulties or other reasons that interrupt public participation. If you have technical difficulties accessing this meeting remotely, please alert us by contacting the Select Board Assistant, Aubrey DeProspero, via her email, which is adeprospero@danvillevt.gov, or using the chat function. If there's a technical difficulty that cannot be resolved, note there still be a final Ask Questions session remotely on town meeting day tomorrow, March 1st, between noon and 1 p.m. with representatives of the school board and select board available to answer questions. The link to that is available under meetings on the Danville Town website. This meeting is being recorded by Kingdom Access TV and will be available on the homepage of the Danville Town website. If there's no objection, we'll start with the town portion of the meeting. We'll start with the roll call select board members.
Who's on?
Merrill.
Present.
Kristen Franson.
Present.
Peter Griffin.
Present.
I'm going to call for Eric Bach, but I do not see him as of yet. And Ken Lindsley.
Here. Eric will not be in attendance tonight. His plane was delayed.
If there's no objection, we'll start with the business of the warrant articles on pages 3 through 5 of the town report. I would point out that the general fund budget figure in Article 21 is the total expenditures figure listed on page 18, with revenue to be raised listed by taxes is listed on page 19. And those figures do not include the special appropriations, which are on page 32. They're the same as last year. The town highway budget, Article 22, appears on page 23, with revenue to pay for it listed further down on the same page. Would anyone on the select board like to speak to any of the town business? Or just wait for questions?
Wait for questions.
There's open for any questions to the select board about the articles warned for town meeting. Hearing none, I guess we turn now to the candidates for town offices, which are listed on page 10 of the town report. I give the candidates the opportunity to introduce themselves, limiting their presentations to 4 minutes. Note there are biographical accounts on the town website for each. We'll take the candidates in alphabetical order. First is the office of moderator, and that's me. I'm Tom Zabrowski. I moved from Pennsylvania here in 1978 and have attended most of the town meetings in that time. I practiced internal medicine here for nearly 40 years and lived with my wife and 2 cats on Red Barn Road. Having moderated about a dozen of the most recent town meetings, I wish to continue this job for another year. The next position is the select board position for a 3-year term, and the candidates are Peter Griffin and Craig Morris. So, Peter, I guess the floor is open to you.
Sure, thank you. So, my name is Peter Griffin. I'm running for re-election to the select board, actually. Last year, I was elected to a 1-year term, and this year I'm running for the 3-year term. I live on Hawkins Road with my wife, Mary Ellen, and my kids, Waverly and Henry. Before that, we moved there in 2010. And before that, we lived in Peacham, where for a number of years, our family ran a vegetable farm. And a lot of people in both Danville and Peacham know us from that old Shaw farm. We used to have a CSA and sell vegetables up on the green and all that. In 2010, we moved to Danville, and I took a job working in the legal counsel office for the Vermont legislature. So I'm an attorney by training and by background. And so I worked with legislators to draft legislation and help them marshal it through the committee process. The office I worked in was a a nonpartisan office. So I worked with Democrats and Republicans and progressives and independent, and worked with a wide variety of people. I learned a ton about municipal law and how state and local government's working in that job. So last year, someone suggested that I run for select board because some of these backgrounds, both living in the area and running a business in the area and working in the Ledge Council office, gave me a background that would be helpful to the select board. So I've been on the select board for a year. It's been a great group, and they've helped me get up to speed on a bunch of stuff. It was sort of a difficult year with some COVID issues that came our way, and also some budgeting. The whole budgeting process is never easy, but in the end, as a group, we put together a budget that maintains town services without raising taxes, basically. And it's been a great experience. So I would love to run for re-election, and I appreciate your support. I guess that's about it.
Great. Thank you. Is Craig Morris on?
Yes.
I am.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. Craig Morris. I live in Danville. I've been participating in the select board meetings for the last 3 years, and I'm running to the idea of maybe getting a lot more younger people in on the town politics or town business. I've spoke with quite a few young people, and they don't really know much about it or understand it. So that's kind of my way of trying to get more people involved. And I do have experience with road crews, road construction, so I have good knowledge of all of that. I'm a truck driver, and I work in Sugarwoods, and I live in Danville with my wife and new son of this last summer. And I think I'd be a great asset to the select board. Some new ideas. That's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. So next, there are 2 positions for select board for a term of 1 year. And the candidates are Allison Defpathy, Kelly Merrill, and Janice Ouellette. Allison is here, so I'll start with you.
Okay, thank you. Can everyone hear me okay? I'm kind of sitting far back. Okay, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Allison Defpathy. I'm currently a candidate for a 1-year seat on the Danville Select Board. I would be honored to serve you all. I've lived out on Coles Pond since 2001. My husband and I built our house there. We have 3 children. I have a master's degree in human nutrition. I've spent the past 20 years here teaching in the Vermont State College system and practicing clinical nutrition in St. Jay. I've offered many health and wellness classes to the local community and many local school systems as well. I strongly believe all people should have easy access to information and resources to best help themselves and their families so they can be healthy and thrive to their best ability. If elected, I'm fully dedicated to work to fortify and secure constitutional and inalienable rights as well as our fundamental human rights. This is another vital role of an elected official in our government, which is of the people, by the people, and for the people. It is the acknowledgement of this common ground that applies to all of us and will allow the many diverse perspectives and worldviews of our town residents to coexist here and be fully supported and respected. In addition to ensuring full transparency, community involvement, and working with balanced budgets and spending projects that truly serve Danville residents and our community, all of us, especially our elected officials, must be aware and actively working to never allow the rights of the people to be compromised or eroded. With the constant barrage of struggle and trauma and local and national upheaval during these times, the protection of these rights must remain at the forefront of our minds and actions, and work on every level, legally, socially, and politically, will be required so these rights remain intact for all of us today in this moment and for our descendants. Our democratic process and these rights must endure and be preserved for all people today and in the future. Public engagement and service is absolutely necessary to fortify these rights for all citizens. In my opinion, we are at a crossroads, a monumental and historical crossroads in which we are currently shaping and defining the role of government. Our government and our laws are fluid, and although their form will evolve as the world does, these inalienable and constitutional rights must remain solid, intact, and indelible at all times, as was the intention and the right of every United States citizen. I'm stepping into the public arena with this intention in mind. We are a country of laws and rights of the individual that are protected by law. There has been government overreach that has occurred here, and it is essential that we, the people, stand up for our rights and civil liberties and work to keep the role of the government clear, honest, and in its proper place. On another note, I've been to multiple board meetings this past year, and in my opinion, both the select board and the school board have historically and recently done a phenomenal job for our community and for the children at the school. I know that every member cares deeply for Danville residents. There's no doubt in my mind that this is the case. However, in the past 2 years, there has been overreach and trust has been broken in certain regards. It is essential to note that no one on either board is ever in any position to make personal, private health decisions for community members or students. These rights belong to the parents alone and the individuals. These are both constitutional and fundamental human rights. One aspect to keep in mind regarding public health is the fact that public health priorities are about ensuring that people have access to clean water and health care, nutritious food, education regarding the role of nutrition and hygiene in health, as well as the safe removal of sewage and waste. This serves the public, and it is these steps that have resulted in the most dramatic decreases ever regarding infectious disease, way before vaccines became an option. Public health is about these steps alone, period. Otherwise, when it comes to the individual, which is what the public, community, and society are composed of, personal private healthcare decisions should be respected at all times and not made by elected officials. These decisions should be made by an individual in concert with their doctor. Body autonomy and informed consent are crucial and apply to each and every individual at all times. This has been enshrined many times in Nuremberg Code, the Helsinki Declaration, and United Nations Code of Ethics. It deserves the utmost respect and priority as we move forward.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you for the time. It would be an honor to serve you all.
Next is Kelly Merrill.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Kelly Merrill. I moved to Danville in 1999. At the time, my husband and I had read the book, The Good Life, by Helen and Scott Nearing when we were in graduate school and down in Maryland. And we were really inspired by their lifestyle choices. And we had been working, I was working for the United States Environmental Protection Agency. My husband was working for the University of Rhode Island's School of Oceanography. We were both marine scientists, and we decided to pursue our dream of homesteading and move to Vermont without any jobs here. And then we lived in a 12 by 16 shed. We did that for 2.5 years. I like to say that we beat Thoreau at his game. I think was much less time in a smaller space, but he didn't have 2 very large dogs living with him in that space. But we also, we now built a house, and we still live off the grid though, and are pursuing that lifestyle. And part of that is just the belief that, that public service is an important aspect of society, and that contributing to our local community with volunteerism is a really important way to engage. And, as we all struggle with the global news these days, from climate change to the war to the pandemic, at the local level is where we can really come together as a community and solve problems that make real differences in our own lives and our immediate neighbors' lives. And as far as trying to get the word out to people, I understand where Craig is coming from on that. And when I joined the board, I started to send out Front Porch Forum notices to people that link them to the agenda and to the minutes. So in an attempt to try to access and inform people and make it as easy as possible for them to stay current with what was going on. When Audrey became the assistant to the select board, the board asked her if she would do that, which is great because you just got to get the timing right of all of that. And it's something that's really, you have to keep on top of to get it posted. And it takes time. And I really appreciate that Audrey and the select board have prioritized that as something that we think is important. And over the years, we've received thanks for doing that and making it as easy as possible for people to find out what's going on in town. I've been on the board for 6 years now. I'm running primarily because of the opportunity this year presents in terms of the fact that the town will be receiving and has received most of over $600,000 in ARPA funds. And we have a real opportunity to use those funds this year and get input from the town. Wendy, our town clerk, was awesome and got us an intern for the town who is going to be working on trying to figure out how best to take public input. And so anyway, my reason for running, I know I'm out of time, sorry, Tom, is that I really want to use my experience on the board to try to figure out how to maximize the use of those ARPA funds. And thank you.
Great. Thank you. And next is Janice Ouellette.
Hi, I'm Jan Ouellette, and I'm running for a one-year term. I live in West Danville with my husband, Dan, and our pandemic rescue dog, Augie. We live right on the rail trail at the bottom of Kittredge Road, and we can often be found either biking or walking with our dog along the trail, so I may have met some of you along the way. I'm nearly a lifelong Danville resident. My parents moved here when they got married, and I went to the school graduating in 1975. For the next 15 years, I was away. First, I earned an accounting degree from the University of Maine, where I met my husband, Dan. We got married after college, and work took us to southern New Hampshire first, and then to the Burlington area of Vermont. When we had the opportunity, because of Dan's work in Waterbury, to move to Danville, we kind of jumped at the chance because for me it was coming home. But more importantly, we wanted the kids to grow up in a small, close community, and we felt very strongly that a connection to their grandparents was important. As a grandparent myself, I have a really good connection with my 5 grandchildren, and I just think that's a great part of a child's life. More importantly, too, we wanted to be available to my parents to help them as they got older with anything they might need and to give them support as they aged. My work experience has been somewhat varied. I first worked in school district accounting in southern New Hampshire before our son Jeremy was born. And then when our daughter Amanda was getting ready to be in school full time, I decided it was time to enter the workforce again. And I was lucky enough to get a job as a paraeducator at the school. I worked in that position for quite some time, and then as an administrative assistant in the front office. When my daughter Amanda was in her last year of high school, I was approached and asked to apply for a job at the central office in the business department. And I thought that was a really good time to get back to what I trained to do. So I started at the central office and worked there for 11 years. My last 3 years I spent as the business manager, and that gave me a lot of experience in helping to build and manage budgets. And in that position, I was also in charge of the financial management and accounting for the federal grants. So I have a lot of experience in federal grants. I've always felt, in addition to family and work, that volunteering was very important. So I've been involved in volunteer activities at many levels, at the school, at the church level, in the town. I served as a room mother, a class advisor, chaperoned field trips, worked on lots of fundraising activities for school and for my church. And I was on the church council for quite a number of years. At the town level, our family all took a turn at the recycling center. And I've also helped out at elections when I could spare the time. The best volunteer effort I was ever a part of was Relay for Life of Caledonia County. I was on the committee that brought that to St. Johnsbury. And for those of you who don't know, it's an annual event that raises money for cancer research and outreach and services to cancer patients.
Janice,
As part, pardon?
Your time is nearly up.
Oh, okay. I had to stop doing that because of family and work commitments. But now that I'm going to be retired, it's time to get back into doing some community service, and I'd love to do it as part of the select board. So thank you for the time to get to know me, know who I am, and what I have to offer.
Thank you. Next is the candidate for Lister for 3 years, is Tim Ide.
He's at the game.
He's at the basketball game. He does have a biographical account, again, at the town website. And last is the candidate for delinquent tax collector for 1 year, which is Edward Lido. Is it Ed here?
No.
No. So you can look him up online as well.
His bio.
His bio's on the website. Well, I'd like to recognize Kristen Franson for her service to town. And Ken, you might want to say something.
Yeah, Kristen has served the board for the last 3 years. She's been an integral part and a very important part of the board. We certainly appreciate everything she's done for us, and we're sorry to see her go. But we know in the future she will come back and help us again. So, Kristen, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ken.
And if there's no other discussion, we'll close the town part of the meeting. And we'll go to the school meeting. And again, I'd ask for a roll call of current school board members.
Yeah, Tom, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Yeah, it's Bruce Melendi.
Thank you, Bruce.
I'm just not on video because I literally walked through the door from returning back from the airport about 20:07. So I'm unpacking while I participate.
All right. And you see Robert Edgar's there. And Clayton Cargill's there. Kim Sanborn?
He is not.
He is not. And Dave Pohl is not.
Tim had sent me something last week. I wasn't sure if he was going to be able to participate both times because he also is away.
Okay.
And Dave actually sent me a text message around, well, right about the time I was pulling into my driveway. He's at work and he got tied up. He said he'll try to get on as soon as he can.
Great. So the school warrant articles on page 74 of the town report. The expenditures budgeted for the next school year is on page 86, and the revenue to pay for it is on page 82. And it's interesting, about 1/8 of the spending comes from local taxes. I don't know if there's anyone to, Bruce, do you want to say anything about the articles or the budget?
I thought Dave Schillen was going to participate tonight. Is he
Nope.
not?
Bruce, Mark is at the Peachum meeting, Dave's at the basketball game, so I'm here.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sarah. I saw the initials, didn't pick up on that.
That's okay.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I can go through the presentation that Mark gave last week, or I'm happy to answer questions as well. The overall that we're looking at is about a 4% a 4-cent decrease in the budget for not in the budget, but in the tax impact for this coming year. So, are there any questions that I can answer? Or do people want me to do the go through the highlights really quickly?
Sure.
So one of the things that we talked about last time is that it's generally pretty easy to get a budget passed through in Danville. We are so greatly appreciative of the town and how supportive the town is of the school, and I know that rings true tonight with many Danville residents down at the Odd cheering the girls on. One of the unique things for Danville is that we bring in about 45 tuition students a year. The majority of those are in high school, but we have a few that are in 7th and 8th grade that come from some other area towns, but also mainly Peachum. So overall, we had a slight increase in our educational spending for this past year at about $367,000. That was due to a few different things, primarily some big library and operational costs that drove that up. One of the pieces that we've also been able to do, because we have had a surplus from last year's budget. So we have new bleachers going in. The plan had been to get those in for this school year, but that's timing wise was not available with the company. So those are going to go in as soon as the kids are done with school. We had the floor refinished and repainted before the start of this school year, and that looks really nice. And then we've also, through Efficiency Vermont, but then primarily with some funding and rebates through them, and then through some of our local funding, we've been able to rebuild the wood chip plant, which hasn't been operational in a decade plus, and that is our primary heat source now. Our facilities manager is really good at getting that fine-tuned and utilizing that to the highest capacity that it can, and to really work to decrease some of the fossil fuel expenditures. Another piece that we're adding for this school year is an experiential learning position that will be focused for students in grades 7 through 12 and give them some tech type experience before many of them feed into some of our local regional tech schools. And so we're going to do some more intentional programming to be able to draw in hopefully even more students. With the impact for the budget for this year, the yield rate is a little bit higher. Danville's common level of appraisal decreased by about 5%, it looks like. And what that works out to overall is that about 4 cents lower for the tax rate for this coming budget.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Any questions at all?
Hearing none, we can move on. I'd like the candidates to introduce themselves. First, the moderator, well, I already did before, so it's me. Second is to elect the school director for a term of 3 years, and Clayton Cargill is running for this position. So Clayton, you have the floor. You have to unmute yourself. Please.
There he goes.
I think all of you did it.
No.
Yep.
Okay, there is no way I muted myself. I don't do that.
No, I take it, I did you.
Yeah, somebody else. And, okay, so I'm running for, my name is Clayton Cargill. Nice to meet you all. I'm running for a 3-year term, and I don't have an opponent, so I don't really have to stump too much, I guess, today. I just wanted to read you a couple of, to tell you what's sort of on my agenda for the coming days. I'm going to go back to an October 27th, 2020 meeting. And on the October 27th, 2020 meeting, the Danville School Board unanimously passed the following statement on equity and inclusion. By respecting each person's unique identity, perspective, and learning style, we create a stronger community. We honor differences, including races and culture, genders and sexual orientations, abilities and aspirations, identities and affiliations, socioeconomics, and worldviews. So in 2020, we passed that, and then it's being reinforced quite a bit by VSBA, the Vermont School Boards Association. And we get a lot of guidance as school board members from the VSBA, and they give us a lot of things that come down the pipe, and they give us trainings and webinars. And so in addition to obviously the reorganizational meeting on the 3rd, I also sit on a committee where we're going to, we have an in-person interview for the new upper school principal on the 3rd as well. And on the 3rd, I've got to watch, this one's going to be recorded, so I'm not going to be able to watch it. I'll be able to watch it after. You can sign up for it. There is a webinar about supporting equity in schools. And so they're going to teach me to get past what I think and to get to what they want Vermont to teach. Then a couple weeks later after that, there's another webinar coming up, and it's on March the 16th, and it's about LGBTQ inclusion in school environments. And these are really important things in schools to remember, that you have to respect every student, their rights, their needs, and everything. And this helps to let board members understand what teachers have to do in their classrooms. And so this is some really educational stuff. And just rambling now, I don't have an opponent, so I can just say what I want. Thank you very much. Lovely to meet you.
Thank you, Clayton. Now we have we're going to elect 2 school directors for a term of 1 year each. I would note there's only 2 names on the ballot, but there are 3 candidates. The 3 candidates, Melissa Conley, Molly Gleason, and Lance Horn is a write-in candidate. So, Melissa, I would ask you to speak first.
I think she was at the game.
I think she's at the game.
Oh,
So Melissa's daughter's real sporty, and Melissa's daughter wanted to go to the game, and Melissa and her daughter go to the games together, and so Melissa's at the game cheering on the big girls. And in about 4 years, her girl's going to be playing for a state championship too. I promise.
Are the school candidates have bios on the website, please?
I don't know what the school, Clayton?
Yes, sir. So you can watch, if you want to see Melissa give a speech, you can go to the town website and watch the video of the last meeting and see her give a speech. If you'd like to, she has bios on her Facebook page, and I think there's on the Vermont community page. I know Lance has a bio on the Vermont community page. He has a flyer. Molly has a bio on there as well. And then Molly's here. You can listen to it now. So if you want to hear Melissa, you can go to the video on the town website. If you want to hear Molly, wait a second. If you want to hear Lance, wait a second. And then if you want to see what they've written, you can go to, there's a Facebook page, and it's called Danville BT Community or something like that. If you have to scroll past a lot of Hastings store commercials. And then
Thank you, Clayton.
Okay.
Robert Edgar, did you have something to say?
The comments of the candidates at the past 2 meetings are posted in video and transcribed on the Danville School Board website. You can't miss them.
School board website.
Yeah, they've got their own.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Molly, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Molly Gleason, and I live in West Danville with my husband Adam and my 2 kids. My daughter Amelia is in 5th grade, and our son Ethan is in 2nd grade. And I moved to Danville about 11 years ago. My husband Adam is from here. His family has a long history here on the Webster side. And so I think Amelia was 4 days old when I moved here, and I didn't know anybody except for Adam's family. So it really was a leap of faith for me. And I grew up in a small town in Maine, and I found Danville to be very similar in terms of having a community that cares for one another and being tight knit. So I've been really happy here, and we've been happy with the school. So it all worked out for me in the end. So it's always been important for me to be involved with the school since my kids have been there. I've helped with fundraisers through the parent-teacher group. I've chaperoned field trips, and I've been a leader of our local Girl Scout troop for the past 6 years. Being involved in this way for me, it's really given me a better understanding of the school and our community. And, it's been nice to get to know some of the students and the teachers. I've also attended several school board meetings this year and many over the course of the years my kids have been in school. The past year, I've heard how hard the pandemic has been for families and the school. And as a parent, I know firsthand how difficult it's been for kids. So I'm very grateful for our teachers, administrators, and school board members who've been, shouldering this burden for our students. And serving on the school board at this time is a way that I can help. So I have experience working on boards. I'm familiar with governance at this level. I studied education policy extensively through my graduate program and took courses in budgeting and financial management specific to the public sector. I've worked at Head Start, creating a new program for families, and as a grant manager for United Way, and also a smaller organization in central Vermont. More recently, I traveled the state meeting with small business owners about state policies. So talking to them about some important policies that can really support their businesses, working families, and also our local communities. So, in all these roles, as you can imagine, there's different opinions and perspectives, and it was really important for me to listen and bring people together to find some common ground. So lastly, I care about the education and well-being of my own children and the children in our community. And, I really believe the benefits of our school go beyond the years our students are there. And I see this time as a really critical moment to invest in the future of the school. And, I know we all are working together to help our children become contributing members of our community. So thank you for your time and this opportunity.
Thank you. And next is Lance Horn.
Hi, my name is Lance Horn. I'm running for a write-in candidate for a 1-year term on the school board. I grew up in Danville, and I went through Danville School through 11th grade, and then transferred to the academy for my senior year. Went off to college in Rhode Island and worked, started in Rhode Island, then Massachusetts, New Hampshire. I kind of did the New England tour, I guess, and have done the last 23 years of service fundraising for nonprofits. I started in production management and operations management, got into the finance side of it, and then I got into the strategy and account management, which led me into operational sales. So I brought on large nonprofits with Paralyzed Veterans of America, Veterans of Foreign Wars, and managed all of their fundraising needs, whether it be direct mail or DRTV or email, and personal URLs. When those first kind of came out, was pretty interesting to learn. So it was a lot of the budgeting for not only the nonprofit, but I work for a for-profit company, so it was always, watching the bottom line and, are we staffed properly? And so my work has brought me to New York, Baltimore, Pennsylvania, had an apartment Midtown Manhattan, worked in the New York office. So I was a weekend dad traveling to Massachusetts on the weekends and during the week down in New York. That got old, and Allison and my wife and I spoke, and I said, with the changing world, we should probably look at coming back to our roots. We both grew up here, and so we settled in Crow Hill and Danville. All 4 of our children two have graduated from Danville, and we have two in there now. Hunter is in 11th grade and Hope's in 5th, and so we're really involved in what they come home and learn, and make sure that they're getting a good education, which they are at Danville, and we're very, very happy with how things are going. So from there, so that's a little bit about, kind of my background and where I went and some of my work. The current company I work for now is in Tulsa, Oklahoma, so I'm able to work out of my home, fortunately. they wanted me to move there. I said there's no way I can leave New England, so they're working with me to allow me to stay here and work remotely. So right now I'm onboarding large clients as they come in, building a team, building the budget for their fundraising needs, and as well as what equipment is needed at the letter shops, which is the mail shop that stuffs the mail and personalizes it and gets it out in the mail, or whether we're doing some DRTV like Shriners Children's Hospital. I'm involved in a lot of that. You probably see a lot of those TV commercials. That's really cool to get involved in. The producer of that is just a really brilliant guy. I've learned a lot from him, but I just think that I have a lot of experience to offer by way of budgeting, and we have 26 companies under my company's umbrella, so I work with all different types of folks, and all different political parties, and I'm really good at conflict resolution and listening to all voices and letting all voices be heard, and so I guess that's kind of where my angle is at, and like to have the opportunity to serve on a school board and see if I can add some different views on things. Appreciate your time.
Great, thank you. I think I would like to recognize Bruce Melendi and Robert Egger for their years of service to the school board.
Thank you.
That is all I have. Is there any other business that anybody wants to discuss from the school?
Get out and vote tomorrow.
Vote tomorrow, yes. Yes, Clayton.
So there's a meeting from noon to 1. Bruce, who's going to that? It says that there'll be a representative from the school board. Is that me?
Yeah, no, it's me.
Okay.
Still on the school board till the end of the day tomorrow, Clayton.
All right, just making sure it wasn't me, because I wasn't planning on doing that one.
I offered to do it, so I'll do it. Thank you.
All right, I got one other question for the entire room. We scheduled our reorganizational meeting at 6 o'clock on March the 3rd. The reorganizational meeting for the select board is at 6 o'clock on March the 3rd. So I can't go to your meeting, but I want to go to your meeting. So can you post your meeting online, please? So I can see how you guys get reorganized? You don't always do that.
How the select board gets reorganized, you mean?
Yes, please. Ours always go up, but I can't watch ours. I got to go to ours.
So after the fact, you want to look at how we reorganized?
Yeah, I want to go to your meeting, Ken. I want to go to your meeting. I'd like to go to your meeting.
Well,
It'll be in the minutes.
They'll have the minutes, but the other thing is we may be missing one or more members, and if that's the case, I don't want to proceed with a reorganization with an incomplete board.
Got it.
We're going to wait and see.
All right. Thank you.
Sorry about that, Clayton.
That's okay. I'll just look for the minutes then.
I think everybody ought to get a chance to get their nickels worth in at the reorganization, and I think we're going to be shy some people.
All right. So we're having ours, so you guys can come to ours if yours doesn't have a quorum. Just pop on over. We're on Zoom.
Okay.
Okay. If there's no more business, we can adjourn. Thank you all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Good night. Thank you, everybody.